Hey guys, Barnes from Back Photography here, and today we're looking at a photo shoot I did last weekend and how to create a stunning, creepy portrait. Basically, I found this really beautiful and sort of scary abandoned building a couple nights ago, and I thought, well, it'd be a really cool place to check out and maybe do some photography. So I got one of my model friends, Alex, to come with me. Her Instagram will be in the description in case you want to see more of her work. And I'll just be running through today what I used to achieve the photos and sort of walking through the steps to the lighting equipment, the camera gear I used, and then the post-production stuff I did afterwards to achieve these images. So first things first, the camera body of choice today was the A7R II by Sony. Then I used a Sigma EF adapter so that I can use Canon glass on my Sony camera. The glass I used today was the Tamron 24-70 2.8, and the flash I used was a Yongnuo 560 Mark III. And as for the stand and umbrella, I just found a cheap $20 eBay no-name brand. So this is the first image I'd like to walk you through today. I think this is probably my favorite image from the day. There's a lot of interesting clutter that's decrepit in the background, but not enough to pull focus and distract from the subject, which is of course Alex the model. There's plenty of color in the graffiti on the walls and a bit just scattered around the place, so I think that's why this one was my favorite image of the day. Here's a quick lighting diagram of the photo shoot. We used one flash, camera right 45 degrees above and to the side of the subject. The reason we chose this lighting placement is so we could create a light and dark side to Alex's face and body, just to create some depth in the image and add some interesting highlights and shadows as well. I shot this photo at 24mm so I could really accentuate the length of Alex's legs as they go lower down the frame. Normally for portraits I don't shoot quite as wide as 24mm, but because the surrounding area was so interesting, I find that it can really paint a story in your image if you allow the viewer to see the surrounding areas, and for that reason I chose to shoot quite wide. I shot at a shutter speed of 150th of a second because I wasn't using high-speed sync in my flash, so I needed to keep the shutter speed below 250th of a second. But not only that, it was quite dark in the area that we were in. I didn't want to bump the ISO too high, so I chose to shoot quite slow in terms of shutter speed. I was able to shoot at an ISO of 800, which meant there was little to no noise in any of the images. So finally for this photo shoot I used a maximum aperture in all of the photos of 2.8, and that is because I wanted my subject to be sharp and in focus, but my backgrounds to be blurry and out of focus. Okay, so this is the photo before any editing has been done. As you can see, there's a few problems with it. First of all, Alex's face, as it was the closest thing to the flash point, is much brighter than any other part of her body. For example, the skin over here, or even on her arms, which is still quite exposed to the umbrella. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that. Pretty much I'm just going to go to this paintbrush tool over here and then tap down the exposure a little bit and just sort of make sure all the other settings are fine. That should be on 0. And then I'm just going to just very slightly, and as you move the exposure down you can see that you lose a lot of color, so I'm just going to boost up her skin tone a little bit as well, and that's a whole bunch better. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I'm editing photos is I make sure that the model's skin tones and all that sort of stuff are perfect, and then I start working on the colors of the background and all that sort of stuff. So I think she's just a little bit bright, so I'm just going to turn down the highlights a little bit on her skin, and then I'm going to go over here and make her skin color a little bit more, not that much, a little bit more colorful, and also maybe just make them slightly lighter as well. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so I'm also going to just increase the clarity of the whole image by about 20 points, just to make the subject pop a little bit more. Also increase the vibrance as well, just to bring like all the colors up a little bit. That looks nice. Bring the whites down a little bit, just there's a couple clipping whites on her face, and also bump the shadows up as well, just so you can see the background a little bit better. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the paintbrush tool. Now this is something I haven't seen that many other people do, but this is a nice way I've found to sort of bring all the background out. So what I do is I just sort of highlight, I guess you could say, although it's not really highlight, I just kind of paint over all of the area which isn't the subject like this, and it'll make sense in a minute, but at the moment, yeah, it does look kind of strange what I'm doing, but it'll all make sense. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to get rid of the hectic exposure and blacks drop, and I'm going to really boost the clarity up here. and then also drop the highlights a little bit. So pretty much what clarity is it boosts the mid-tone contrast of an image, so it really makes all the little individual parts of the image sort of pop and make them sort of stop meshing in with everything else. So as you can see, like all the lines and everything just look a lot stronger. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and then the second thing is I'm just going to make the image a little bit colder as well, just because this is meant to be like a sort of a creepy area. We don't want everything looking too bright. Yeah, that looks about right. Maybe a little bit too blue actually. I'm just going to go back to the colour chart here and just boost some of the colours you don't see very often. So there's not that much yellow in the scene, so I'm just going to boost the yellows up a little bit. Maybe drop the blues down a little bit because they're a little bit too strong. Get some more greens. And just boost the purples that are on her fringe as well. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with my settings now in Camera Raw. I'm just going to open the image up in native Photoshop and fix up a few things. So as you can see, there's a little bit of noise here and there just because I have boosted the shadows up and dropped the highlights a little bit. So I'm just going to despeckle the image, make it look a little bit smoother. That will reduce the quality of our image a little bit, but because the A7R2 has such a high megapixel count, I can sort of get away with doing it. So let's get rid of a few of the blemishes that the model has on her skin. Alex, the model, did ask me to sort of beautify her body a little bit and sort of, make all her skin tone nice and smooth, maybe like liquefy her just to make her like a little bit skinnier and bustier and things like that. Alright, cool. So my next step is I just want to liquefy Alex a little bit just to sort of like remove some of the lumps and bumps, just make her a little bit more sort of model-esque, if that makes sense. Just give her like the whole model treatment when it comes to the editing. More things I'd like to do is I'd just like to get rid of some of the dust here. So just this little bit here, this bit here, and some over here as well. The room was so dusty, it was just impossible to stay clean really, especially when Alex was posing on the ground and that sort of thing. So that looks pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. Please like if you did and subscribe for more content in the future.